Hello everybody, AstroMommy here. So this video is actually going to be a little bit different than what we've been doing the last couple of weeks on the channel, where we have been doing a weekly horoscope and then breaking down every single day and looking at the daily chart and whatnot and talking about the exact transits that are going on that day. I have a lot of stuff going on in my personal life this week. I've got family visiting, and so I'm just not actually able to film the whole week in that same way. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually take a look at the whole week as a whole, and we're going to talk about the big transits that are coming up for that week. And I hope that it will be just as helpful as going through each individual day. And I would love to know in the comments, do you like this style? Is this something that you would like to see more of, sort of the weekly overview in this way? So first, what I want to do is show you the calendar for the week. And then we might look at a couple of charts for a couple of the main transits that we're going to be dealing with this week that are really significant, that you definitely need to prepare yourself for. All right, let me go ahead and minimize my screen here. Okay, so first I want to take a look at the calendar here and just kind of give you guys an overview of what is going on this week. We start the week off with the moon in Virgo. We're going to transition on Tuesday into Libra, and then Scorpio on Thursday, and then finally on late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, the moon will go into Sag. So we're going to be going through all of these different energies with the moon this week. Now we're going to start out in a more organized, scheduled way with the moon in Virgo, where we want to clean things up. We want to kind of get organized in our life. And we could have already been feeling that over the weekend. And then we're going to want to be more social with the moon in Libra, moving on to the weekend where the moon moves into Scorpio. Things get a little bit more spicy, a little bit more heated up. And then we move into Sunday where the moon is in Sagittarius. Now, additionally, before we move on to the charts, I want to show you some of the main transits that we're dealing with this week. So first we start off on Monday with Venus square Saturn and Mars trine Neptune. This is a really interesting way to start the week. It comes off with a little bit of uncertainty about our actions forward, but movement, and then also stop signs. It's also a reality check within our relationships and our value systems with Venus square Saturn. Midweek, Wednesday and Thursday, we have dynamic transits happening with Mercury. Mercury will first oppose Uranus, which could be some sort of shocking news. This could possibly be in your own personal life, or it could be in the world at large. And then Mercury trine Neptune is sort of like covering up that shocking news with, a curtain, like, oh, there's nothing to see here. There's something about that screams deception and lies and corruption. Some sort of like blanket being pulled over your eyes or a curtain being drawn. So there's something shocking that's coming in the news. And this could also be, if it's in your personal life, this could be somebody saying something, bad about you, or saying something, that shocks you in some way. And then there's sort of like this energy of wanting to, kind of like wash it over, wash it down. Like, so Mercury opposite Uranus could be some sort of hard pill to swallow. And then Mercury trine Neptune is like washing it down with something sweet, So then at the end of the week, Saturday and Sunday, we have a lot of stuff going on. Mercury is going to be making a trine to Mars on Saturday and then ingressing into Sagittarius, as well as we have two sextiles going on, Jupiter sextile Chiron and Mercury sextile Pluto. So there's definitely an air of healing that could happen on Saturday, as well as the feelings of possible exposure that could be coming out, and that could tie back into the shocking news or whatnot that we felt earlier in the week. Then on Sunday, we have two really major transits going on back to back at the same time, and that is Mars is opposing Pluto at 6:36 a.m. and Venus is opposing Jupiter at 10:25 a.m. So that is the chart that I really want to focus on. Oh, and lastly, I forgot to mention that we also have, let's put it in yellow. We also have a new moon on Friday. So that is really interesting because we have I keep hitting this because we have these dynamic transits that are happening, and we also have this balsamic moon phase that is happening starting from the very beginning of the week. We're going to be entering that balsamic moon phase, and Friday we have that new moon in Scorpio. We have a lot of Scorpio energy going on because we have the sun in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio, and then we have this new moon in Scorpio. And it's really interesting because the rulers of Scorpio, Mars in traditional astrology and Pluto in modern astrology, both rule Scorpio, and we have so much focus on Scorpio. So let's take a look at the new moon chart, and then let's also take a look at this Mars opposite Pluto transit at the end of the week, and so we can see what those look like. All right, so here we are on November 1st. Rabbit, rabbit, as my teacher always says. Let me move the chart back so we can see that new moon. All right, so here we have that new moon at 9 degrees Scorpio, 35 minutes. So that represents a new beginning in the Scorpio house of your natal chart. This can either indicate, a new beginning in the topics that that house rules, or it can also indicate just a new beginning in what the Scorpio archetype signifies. So this could be something that could be a new beginning in your sexuality or your sensuality. It could be a new beginning in your desires, or something that you are putting a lot of great focus and energy into and kind of immersing yourself in, and maybe even to the point of obsession. So this could be a new beginning for you in that regard. But either way, the new moon always represents a new beginning of some sort. So let's go ahead and move on to the Sunday chart, because that's really what I want to show you guys. So we're going back to 6:36 a.m., the exact moment that Mars is going to be perfecting his opposition to Pluto. Now, this is the very last time that Mars in Cancer will perfect an opposition to Pluto in Capricorn in our lifetimes, because Pluto will ingress into Aquarius before the next time that Mars comes back to Cancer. Mars is going to 6 degrees of Leo before he stations retrograde on December 6th, 2024. And he will oppose Pluto again, but it'll be from the 0 degrees Leo point when Pluto is at 0 degrees Aquarius. So this is the last time. And I want to read to you what Reinhold Ebertin says about Mars-Pluto dynamics from his book, The Combination of Stellar Influences, to give you an idea of the potency of this particular transit. All right, so Mars-Pluto together, the main principle is superhuman power, force, and brutality. And in an opposition, which is a challenging aspect, we can expect things like the attainment of one's own objectives by means of ruthlessness to others, brutality, and cruelty. So those are not fun things, as well as the tendency to proceed in a brutal manner, the misfortune of having to suffer violent assaults and injuries. Definitely not a fun transit to mess around with. So obviously those are kind of like extremes. But it's good to be aware that this transit is happening. It does mean injuries. It does mean brutality, which means violence and aggression, right? And we are at this threshold with Pluto at the very end of Capricorn, about to ingress back into Aquarius for the last time in our lives and then stay there for 20 years, that we all know that we are on this threshold of major, major transformation. And that is what Pluto represents, is major transformation. In opposition to Mars, Mars is our will, is our willingness to fight for things. And in Cancer, this is our willingness to fight for our own security, for our own families, for our sense of safety. And so it's definitely getting threatened. It's threatening a crisis point. It's a threatening of our survival. So we could definitely feel like we are at this life or death type of situation, or there's some sort of major power struggle that is going on that we are experiencing, and we have to, fight to live, So it's a major hard transit that's coming up at the end of this week, okay? Now, at the same time, we have Venus opposite Jupiter. So again, I'll read to you what Reinhold Ebertin says in his book about Venus and Jupiter together, which is a very different energy than Pluto and Mars, but they are in an opposition. So again, there is this element of a tug of war of energies and of a dilemma, a choice that needs to be made. Whenever we have an opposition, there is this feeling like you're either being pulled in two different directions, or that you have to make a choice of one thing or the other thing. So in instance of Pluto and Mars, are you going to choose to grow and transform, or are you going to fight that growth and, kind of like hang on with tooth and nail kind of a thing? With Jupiter and Venus, it's our beliefs versus our values or our desires. And both Venus and Mars deal with our wants and desires that we have on an instinctual level. Okay, so let's see what Reinhold Ebertin says about Venus and Jupiter. All right, so Venus and Jupiter together, the principle is the joy of love and happiness and love. So far, so good, right? In an opposition, we are dealing with the inclination to laziness, negligence, false conduct in love relationships, self-conceit, wastefulness, and excessive expression of feeling, as well as disadvantages through wastefulness or through too rich living, sickness, a love conflict. So it definitely could be something that comes up between your beliefs and your values that creates some sort of situation in a relationship that you have to make a decision about. And it could, there could be this, it's a really interesting dynamic to have both going on at the same time, okay? Because we have this sort of like life or death situation, but then we also have this conflict between our beliefs and our values. So definitely we are feeling as if we are being threatened in multiple different ways. Not really that surprising considering that we have the election coming up on the 5th. And so a lot of people are feeling like this is a life or death situation, that, if you vote for this person, we're all going to die. If you vote for that person, we're all going to die. So a lot of people are feeling very much on the edge of their seat, as if we need to make the right decision, and everybody has their opinion about what that is. And this is also an opposition of our beliefs, what we believe to be true, what we believe to be going on, and our values, and what we need and want and desire in our life in order to feel comfortable and secure and happy. So it's a really perfect dynamic for the United States election to be happening at the same time. Now, a couple other interesting things that are going on in this chart that I just want to point out is that we do have some supportive transits that are going on. And I know that I'm not going into all the different transits with the moon and everything that's happening this week because I'm crunched for time, and I apologize for that. But we do have the sun applying to a trine to Saturn, which I think is really, really good because it shows that we are going to make some sort of choice that is going to have long-term consequences that will be kind of an easy choice in the end with that trine. It could be an emotional choice, but we do have Saturn that's about to station direct mid-November, and he's at that station point. Let's see. Let me give you the exact degree that Saturn will station direct. Okay, so Saturn stations direct on November 15th at 12 degrees Pisces, 41 minutes. So he is only 8 minutes of arc away from that station point. And the sun is only 1 day away from completing that trine to Saturn. So there is something that is for the long-term benefit that is about to be decided, and that trine shows that this decision was going to be swift. These oppositions show that it's going to be very, very polarized. Like, duh, we all know that it's very polarized out there right now. But that is showing up in the astrology. So we are having confirmation about everything that we are feeling right now. It's showing up in the charts, in the stars, in the heavens, okay? Now, we also have Venus in a nice trine to Chiron, and Chiron is in a nice sextile to Jupiter. So the struggle between our beliefs and our values is really being supported by this place within ourselves, within our identities, that we feel vulnerable, we feel like we need healing because we are wounded in some way. So the two benefics are trying to work things out. They are trying to come to some sort of agreement and make a decision for the best interest, of for the best interest of healing to happen. And I really see that with those nice aspects to Chiron. So there will be some healing and relief that happens once the decisions are made. Because then what do? You can't go back. You have to go forward, right? So we also have a nice trine that is separating from the Mars and the Moon, and also with Mercury and Mars. So Mercury is just into Sagittarius, right? So right before he went into Sagittarius, he made that nice trine to Mars. And that means that what actions we are taking and what we are thinking about are feeling in alignment. And with the moon there, it's going to be a very personal experience. And once everything moves into Sag, we are going to feel more hopeful and more sure of ourselves. And we have that nice sextile also that happened with Pluto with the same dynamic. So we have supporting players here. We have these crazy oppositions that are happening between Pluto and Mars and Venus and Jupiter, creating so much conflict, so much stress. And it's like it's like a pimple that has to be popped. It has to be popped. There has to be an explosion. There has to be a big, expression of how we feel and what we believe in and what our philosophies are about life and what our values are. And we have to fight for those. But we have this supportive aspect between our emotions and our mental landscape. They are in conjunction together with Mercury and the moon in Sagittarius. So once we have made up our mind, we are going to feel very justified in what we believe. We're going to feel settled in it. We're going to feel hope and optimism because of whatever we decided to do. And whatever we decide to do will have some sort of healing effect on ourselves. So it's a really, really dynamic transits that are coming up, set of transits that's coming up on Sunday, November 3rd. We're going to be going towards that this whole entire week. And I feel like the new moon on Friday at 9 degrees Scorpio is just showing that whatever we are starting this week is very intense. It's very personal. We are deeply connected to it, and we are going to be kind of obsessed with it over this next lunar cycle. So let's go ahead and pick a few cards for this week, because I'm just going to combine the horoscope with the card reading because like I said, I'm crunched for time. I really apologize for that. It's just the way that it is. I bet you are all feeling crunched for time too, because, even though I report on the I report on the charts, I tell you guys what's happening, I'm not immune to what is happening. So I too am also feeling all of this, anxiety and increased energy, as well as, feeling crunched for time as well. So, and it's interesting because we start the week off with Venus in a square to Saturn, which brings up the things that you value and the things that take time, and feeling restrictions on that, as well as just Venus square Saturn, to start the week off, also brings up a lot of self-worth issues. So if you have been feeling, that you haven't been good enough, or that you lack certain skills, or that you're just not sure if you are, pretty enough, good enough, like if you're worthy of it, whatever it is, that is Venus square Saturn. I have that natally. It comes up all the time. And, it's not a fun transit. So if you're feeling that way, just know that it will pass and you will start to feel different after that transit subsides. So towards the end of the week, you'll start to feel different. But then we have this crazy transit happening on Sunday, which just brings up so much stuff. Like things are just really coming up to a peak, right? Okay. So let's see. Let's pick a couple cards for this week. All right. I'm also really curious what Mercury is going to be bringing with this week, with his opposition to Uranus and his trine to Neptune. I feel like that is, shocking news, but then, there is a veil that is pulled over the shocking news really fast. And then as well with the trine to Mars over the weekend and sextile to Pluto, that is exposure. That is the veil being ripped off quickly and swiftly, and things being exposed in a really quick, easy way. So that is going to be really interesting. Maybe this week we're going to be hearing about our October surprise, right? I would not be surprised if this was the week that the October surprise, I mean, well, duh, because October's about to end. So this is the last time that, the October surprise could happen. Anyway, what do we have to look forward to this week? So we have the Queen of Swords in reversed. Okay, so yes, that is decisive action. That is cutting words. That is, somebody who is using strategy. But in the reverse, we are internalizing all of that. So we are thinking about what our actions are going to be. We are thinking about what our strategies are going to be and we're choosing our words wisely. All right, so what else is coming through? All right, we have the Two of Wands in reversed. So we do not feel like we have the whole world in our hands right now. We don't feel like we are in control of what is happening. What else we got going on here? The Knight of Swords, again, in reversed. This week is all about our internal thoughts, how we are processing everything, and how we choose to react to it. A big thing that is coming up is that, especially with this election, it's going to be really, really hard with those transits that are going on Sunday for people to be chill about whatever happens on election day. And I think that the Knight of Swords coming up reversed is showing us that we need to really think before we act. The Knight of Swords is one of the fastest cards in the tarot deck, and it means taking very swift, fast action. But when it's reversed, it means not taking action. It means not jumping to conclusions. So we need to think before we speak. We need to think before we leap. Look before we leap, whatever. We need to have some restraint and protect ourselves, be responsible with our reactions to things. All right, so what do we have to look forward to this week? Ooh, the Ace of Cups. I love that. That is an outpouring of love and affection, new beginnings in places of, in our heart space that have to do with our feelings, new love coming in. This could also really go, I really love this with the new moon in Scorpio that is happening, because that is a new beginning. And Scorpio is an emotional sign. It's a water sign. It's a very intuitive, deep feeling sign. It's very intense and very passionate. So there is something new on the horizon this week that is going to begin. And I believe it probably goes hand in hand with that Scorpio moon. What else do we have? Judgment. Judgment. We are all going to have to face judgment. This is facing this is rising up to your higher calling. So this is connecting with our higher selves for the highest good of all involved, doing the things that we know are in alignment and are just and true and are of the utmost integrity. So we are all being called to rise up to the challenges that we are facing right now and rise up to the trumpet's call, rise up to our calling. I love that. We have Ace of Cups and Judgment, new beginning and rising up to your calling, connecting with your higher self. And we are thinking before we speak. We are looking before we leap. We are thinking very deeply about what we are doing before we do it, because we are being responsible with our actions. And then we have the Five of Cups. This is cutting your losses. This is, oh, shoot. All of these things that I was attached to, all of these goblets, they spilled and I was attached to them. I'm so forlorn. But I have two more goblets behind me. I'm going to cut my losses. I'm going to pick up what I still have. And I'm going to cross the bridge to the new castle on the other side, the new house on the other side, where there is something better for me. So this is cutting your losses and taking what you have and moving on. I think that that's really, really apt for this week. Let's pull one more card for the outcome of the week. Ooh, the moon. You know, this is coming face to face with your shadow self. This is coming face to face with your own inner reflection, facing your fears. Now, the two towers on the card of the moon show that we have a choice to go through. We have to go through a threshold. The moon reflects the light of the sun, right? So when the moon is reflecting the light of the sun, it is showing our true essence. And the essence, you know, the moon card has to do with deceptions and shadows and, you know, things that are being hidden in the dark of the night and whatever, but that are being illuminated by the light of the moon. There's an essence of exposure here. But at the same time, there's an integration of the two different sides of yourselves. We have the wolf and we have, which one is which? We have the wolf and then we have the domesticated dog, right? So the two sides of yourself, the wild and the domestic, that are coming together. And then you are going through the threshold. You are choosing your higher self and going through the threshold to the other side, going through the path and going through the journey. So it's about facing your shadows. It's about facing the dualities within yourself and not lying to yourself and not lying to others as you go about life, and choosing to walk a path of integrity and authenticity. So I think, you know, looking at the astrology for this whole week and the cards that we picked, I really feel like this week is a big challenge in terms of being a mature, in terms of responding in a mature way and having emotional maturity and choosing, you know, the path of the higher self, you know, choosing to connect with the higher frequencies rather than the lower frequencies, and not get caught up in the turmoil of everything and the drama that is going on, but rather kind of allow yourself to step back from that and walk forward, you know, on the path that you know is right for you. All right. I hope that that was helpful. It really was just sort of like a channeling, this whole horoscope and this card reading, but I do hope that it was helpful, and I'd love to hear your comments, so please leave me one down below. Thank you guys so much. At the end of this week, we will be having another horary chart, and the question that I'm going to be talking about, that I'll be sharing the example chart with, is, am I pregnant? So that's a fun one. All right, see you guys later. Bye.